The 1980s wasn't just about big hair, cassette tapes, and muscle cars. It was also the golden era of tractors built like tanks. These weren't flashy, they weren't overloaded with electronics, but they were machines designed to work the fields day after day, year after year, and they're still running today. From legendary John Deere workhorses to unstoppable Massey Fergusons, we're counting down the top 10 most durable diesel tractors of the 80s. Machines so tough, many are still pulling plows, hauling loads, and proving why they were built to last. If you think modern tractors are strong, wait till you see what the 80s gave us. Number 1. John Deere 4440. When people talk about the tractors that defined American agriculture in the late 70s and early 80s, the John Deere 4440 nearly always comes up. This machine was part of the famous Iron Horses generation, and is remembered not just for its power, but for how incredibly well it stood the test of time. Farmers in the Midwest, Canada, and even overseas markets swear by the 4440 because it could handle almost anything thrown at it, whether it was deep tillage, heavy planting, or long days hauling grain wagons. Even in 2025, it's not uncommon to see 4440s working in the fields, sometimes with 15,000 hours on the clock, proving that Deere built this tractor to last forever. Its heart was a 7.6-liter six-cylinder diesel engine, part of the 44466 family, known for thick cylinder walls, a durable crankshaft, and a conservative fuel setting that gave strong torque without overstressing the components. Farmers loved the fact that even if you pushed it hard on a hot summer day, the engine never felt fragile. The 4440 was engineered with durability in mind. Its cooling system was oversized for the horsepower rating, which meant the engine ran cooler and lived longer under continuous heavy loads. This was especially important on the Great Plains, where farmers often worked their machines for 12 to 14 hours at a stretch during planting and harvest seasons. Another big factor was Deere's SoundGuard cab, which for the first time made operator comfort a top priority. This wasn't just about luxury. The quieter, cooler cab meant farmers could spend long hours operating the tractor without exhaustion, reducing operator mistakes and wear on the tractor itself. The transmission was another highlight. The quad-range gearbox was essentially bulletproof when maintained with clean oil, and the optional power-shift transmission, though more complex and expensive to overhaul, proved surprisingly durable in the real world. Add in Deere's famous closed-center hydraulic system, which delivered reliable flow to loaders and planters without overheating, and you had a machine that seemed designed to outlast the farm itself. Like any machine, the 4440 wasn't perfect. After decades of use, the cab mounts often sag or wear out, making the ride rougher and sometimes affecting shift linkage alignment. The selective control valves, SCVs, which control the hydraulic remotes, tend to leak over time, especially if seals haven't been replaced. The harmonic balancer or engine damper can also become tired after thousands of hours, leading to unwanted vibration if not addressed. As for the power shift, its clutch packs will eventually need service, but most tractors reach truly extreme hours before that happens. If you're considering buying a 4440 in the modern used market, start by checking hydraulic response. Once the tractor is warm, slow, or weak, hydraulics can mean pump wear or clogged screens. Look for clean oil in the transmission and final drives, and test the gearbox under load for smooth shifts. Radiators and water pumps are often original, so replacing or recoring them is a smart move to guarantee another decade of reliable operation. A properly cared-for 4440 can still be the backbone of a medium-sized farm, even 40-plus years later. Number 2. John Deere 4450. If the 4440 was the icon of the early 80s, the John Deere 4450 was the tractor that carried Deere's reputation into the mid to late 80s. Farmers often describe it as a 4440 with the rough edges smoothed out, and that sums it up well. Deere listened to farmer feedback and introduced a number of refinements, making the 4450 one of the most sought-after models of its era. Powered by the same 466 cubic inch six-cylinder diesel found in the 4440, the 4450 benefited from small but important improvements, better cold starting ability, an upgraded rear end that could handle more abuse, and stronger hydraulic performance. This combination made it a favorite among row crop farmers who needed both power and versatility. The 4450 carried forward everything that made the 4440 nearly indestructible, but added durability in areas where its predecessor occasionally fell short. The rear axle and final drives were beefed up, giving extra strength for larger implements and loader work. The cooling system was refined, and Deere continued with the closed-center hydraulic system, which remained one of the most reliable designs in the industry. Electrical systems were improved, and though the tractor still used plenty of mechanical controls, the wiring harness was better organized. Another advantage of the 4450 was Deere's parts network. The 50 series tractors were supported exceptionally well, and even today most components are still available either from Deere or aftermarket suppliers. The 4450 does have its quirks. As with many 40-year-old tractors, electrical problems crop up, especially in the dash and relay clusters where wiring insulation becomes brittle. Hydraulic leaks from SCVs or worn seals are common with age. PowerShift models can be temperamental if oil changes were skipped, but tractors that were properly maintained usually have very few transmission issues. The quad-range models are nearly unbreakable when maintained. On the used market, the key things to check on a 4450 include SCV pressure and flow, ensuring the hydraulics can lift and hold heavy implements without sagging. The PTO should engage smoothly under load, as hesitation can mean clutch wear. Check the fan hub assembly, which is prone to failure if not serviced. If the tractor shows evidence of regular oil and filter changes, you can safely expect it to last many more years. A well-kept 4450 is often described as the sweet spot of Deere's 80s lineup. Number 3. Ford TW35. While John Deere dominated much of the American market in the 80s, Ford's TW35 became the go-to tractor for many farmers who wanted pure pulling power without unnecessary frills. The TW series, launched in the late 70s, gained a reputation for being straightforward, heavy-duty machines, and the TW35 was the most powerful of the lineup during the 80s. It was powered by Ford's proven 401-456 cubic-inch six-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine, depending on market, which delivered outstanding torque and reliability. Farmers often nicknamed the TW35 Big Blue Brawn because it was designed to be rugged rather than fancy. The strength of the TW35 lay in its rear end and final drive design. The tractor used heavy outboard planetaries that were more than capable of handling high torque and heavy draft loads. The dual power transmission, essentially a two-speed power shift built into the main gearbox, was robust as long as the oil stayed clean and was changed on schedule. Cooling systems were designed to handle long hours of lugging without overheating, making the tractor especially reliable in hotter climates. Perhaps the TW35's biggest advantage was Ford's global support network. Long after the 80s, parts remained easy to source thanks to New Holland and later CNH Industrial, keeping these machines alive across Europe, North America, and beyond. The TW35 does have some weak spots. The rear axle seals often start leaking after decades of service, and the steering orbitrol, the hydraulic steering control unit, is known to seep or fail with age. At extremely high hours, the dual power pack may need servicing, but rebuilds are relatively straightforward compared to more complex transmissions. Electrical systems are simpler than Deere's, which makes them easier to repair but still prone to corrosion in older wiring. If you're buying a TW35 today, the first thing to test is the dual power system. Make sure it shifts smoothly under load without hesitation or slipping. Next, inspect the radiator and cooling system carefully, as many original radiators are partially clogged after 40 years and may need recoring. Listen for unusual noises in the final drives during deceleration or heavy draft loads, as rumbling can indicate bearing wear. Overall, if maintained, a TW35 is nearly indestructible and offers tremendous pulling ability for its age. Number 4. Case IH Magnums 7120. When Case IH launched the Magnum series in 1987, it marked a turning point not just for the company, but for the entire tractor industry. The Magnum's 7120 was the entry-level model in the lineup, but don't let that fool you. It set the tone for what would become one of the most respected tractor families of all time. Farmers who ran internationals before the merger and those who had been loyal to Case both found something to like in the 7120. It combined the brute strength of the old International Harvester rear ends with the modern refinement and durability of new designs. At its core was the Cummins 6CT 8.3-liter turbocharged six-cylinder, a simple, long-lived engine that thrived under heavy loads and hot conditions. Paired to an 18-speed full power shift transmission, it offered a seamless blend of muscle and convenience, allowing operators to switch gears under load without grinding or stopping. By the late 80s, farmers were demanding more from their machines. They wanted reliability for 12 to 16-hour days, reduced downtime, and equipment that could handle larger implements. The 7120 delivered all of that in spades. Today, many of these tractors are still in daily use, some with 10,000 hours on the clock, and they're still considered workhorses rather than antiques. The 7120 didn't just keep up with the competition, it set a new bar for what durability really meant. The secret to the 7120 longevity is a combination of understressed engineering and overbuilt components. The Cummins 6CT is one of the most respected engines of its generation. With thick cylinder liners, robust bearings, and a low-stress tune, it was built for endurance rather than maximum horsepower. Cooling capacity was generous, ensuring the engine never ran too hot, even under heavy tillage or in dusty conditions. The 18-speed power shift was revolutionary at the time and quickly developed a reputation as nearly indestructible, with clutch packs that held up equally well to loader work, road transport, and heavy draft loads. The rear end of the Magnum's 7120 was a direct descendant of the International Harvester 86 series design but beefed up further to handle modern implements. Electrical systems were deliberately kept simple and shielded, which meant fewer gremlins compared to competitors experimenting with more electronics in the late 80s. Most problems with the 7120 are minor and age-related. Cab interiors wear out. Switches, upholstery, and dash plastics often show their age. Hydraulic systems may develop seepage at hoses and fittings, but outright pump failures are rare. The PTO clutch pack can show wear if the tractor spent its life on round balers or forage harvesters, but even then, it's far from a common failure point. Compared to nearly every other tractor of its era, the 7120 has fewer chronic issues. When evaluating a used Magnum 7120, start with the basics. Does it cold start cleanly with minimal smoke? A healthy Cummins should fire quickly and settle into a smooth idle. Test the power shift through all 18 steps, ensuring shifts are crisp and positive with no hesitation or slipping. Hydraulic oil condition and service history are critical. Look for signs of regular filter changes and clean fluid. If those items check out, you're looking at a machine that could easily be a retirement plan, a tractor that will serve for decades with little more than routine maintenance. Number 5. International Harvester 1086. Long before the Case IH merger, International Harvester's 1086 was the backbone of countless farms. Introduced in the late 70s, the 1086 was part of the 86 series lineup and quickly became one of the company's most popular models. By the early 80s, it was still going strong, and many farmers relied on it as their main workhorse. At the heart of the 1086 was the DT436 turbocharged diesel engine, a 7.1-liter long-stroke 6 that delivered excellent torque at low RPM. This engine is legendary for its toughness. It was designed with heavy, thick components that could survive years of abuse, even from less than careful operators. Farmers valued the 1086 because it could do nearly everything: plowing, planting, cultivating, hauling, and even heavy loader work if needed. The 1086 also introduced farmers to a new level of comfort compared to earlier IH models. Its cab wasn't as refined as Deere's Soundguard, but it was a big step forward, offering climate control, better visibility, and reduced operator fatigue. The tractor was a mainstay on Midwestern farms throughout the early 80s and continues to have a loyal following today. In many ways, it represents the last great stand of International Harvester before the financial troubles that led to the Case merger. The 1086's longevity comes from its mechanical simplicity and robust design. The DT436 engine is nearly indestructible, with conservative fueling and heavy-duty internal components. Its mechanical fuel injection system is straightforward to maintain and less sensitive to poor-quality diesel than modern electronic systems. The rear end and final drives were sized to handle heavy tillage implements, meaning the tractor could be worked hard without fear of catastrophic failure. One of the defining features of the 1086 was the torque amplifier TA, a 2-speed power-shifted range that allowed operators to adjust speed on the fly. While the TA developed a reputation for failure when abused, farmers who used it correctly, shifting under light load, often saw it last thousands of hours. The 1086 also benefited from a relatively simple electrical system, easier to repair than some of its competitors' more complex wiring. The most well-known issue is TA wear, especially if previous owners shifted it incorrectly under heavy load. Cab climate control systems, especially the HVAC, often don't function well after decades, making hot summer days less comfortable. The gear shift linkages also develop play after many hours, making gear changes less precise. Despite these quirks, the 1086 remains a very serviceable and reliable tractor. When buying a 1086, test the TA carefully. It should shift smoothly without slipping. Clutch condition is also important, especially if the tractor spent time pulling heavy loads. Engage the PTO under load to make sure it bites properly, and check the hydraulic remotes for response and leaks. Because parts for the 1086 remain widely available and relatively inexpensive, these tractors are still bargain workhorses in 2025. Number 6. Massey Ferguson 399. While Deere, Case IH, and Ford often dominated the headlines in North America, Massey Ferguson's 399 carved out a huge niche for itself globally. Introduced in the late 80s, the 399 became a staple on mixed farms, livestock operations, and even orchards. This tractor wasn't about cutting-edge technology, it was about straightforward, rugged dependability. Its power came from Perkins diesel engines, renowned for their simplicity and ability to run under harsh conditions. Farmers often joked that Perkins engines could run on goodwill, and the 399 embodied that sentiment perfectly. In climates ranging from scorching African plains to wet British farms, the 399 earned a reputation as the tractor that always started, always pulled, and never complained. 399 was especially popular with small to medium-sized operations that needed one machine to do a bit of everything. It wasn't as big or as powerful as the Magnum or Deere 4050 series tractors, but it was affordable, reliable, and easy to fix. To this day, it remains a common sight on farms around the world, with many still earning their keep after 30-plus years. The strength of the 399 lies in its conservative engineering choices. Perkins diesels of this era were tuned for longevity rather than maximum output, with modest turbo boost and timing settings that reduce stress on bearings and pistons. The result was cooler running engines with extremely long service lives. The transmission was basic but sturdy, with gear sets that rarely suffered damage unless abused by shifting without the clutch. Simplicity was the design philosophy. There were fewer electronics and fewer things to go wrong, which made the tractor especially popular in regions where service infrastructure was limited. The hydraulics and three-point hitch were more than adequate for loaders, plows, and balers, giving the 399 broad versatility. Most issues with the 399 stem from age rather than design flaws. Wiring harnesses are prone to corrosion and wear, leading to electrical gremlins. Linkages in the gearshift and hydraulics wear over time, creating slop. Hydraulic seals may leak if never replaced, especially in tractors that have been used hard on loaders. The steering box can also develop play after years of loader work, though it's a known issue and relatively easy to repair. On the used market, the main things to inspect are the hydraulic lift capacity under heavy ballast. Weak lifting often signals a tired pump or leaking seals. Test for steering play, especially in loader-equipped machines. A clean fuel system is important, as dirty injectors can affect performance. Fortunately, parts for the Perkins engine and Massey driveline are widely available and affordable, making the 399 one of the most cost-effective vintage tractors to keep running in modern farming. Number 7. Deutz-Fahr DX 7.10. Air-cooled durability at scale. The DX 7.10 used Deutz's big BF6L, BF6M air-cooled diesels that thrive in dusty, arid conditions where radiators clog and engines overheat. If you've farmed in heat and sand, you know why these engines built a cult. No coolant to boil, big oil capacity, and a robust bottom end. The driveline and final drives are strong, and the tractors are lighter than comparable liquid-cooled machines, reducing compaction and component stress. Neglected valve adjustments and oil leaks if seals get old. Sound insulation hardens with time. Air-cooled engines demand clean tin work and fan shrouds intact. Uniform head temperatures, oil pressure at hot idle, and intact cooling tins. If the tin is complete and the owner changed oil religiously, you're set. Number 8. Zetor 7711 7745. Zetor's UR1 series, especially the 7711 7745, earned their reputation the old-fashioned way. Simple castings, mechanical everything, and engines that aren't finicky about fuel quality. In Eastern Europe, Africa, and parts of Asia, these were the tractors that simply wouldn't die. Low specific output and conservative timing equal cool running. The gearboxes are humble but strong, and parts interchangeability across the UR1 family keeps costs down. Hydraulic lift cover wear, brittle plastic and switchgear, and occasional weeping axle seals. Otherwise, astonishingly few chronic failures. 3-point lift under a real load. Don't just cycle it empty. Steering play and clutch free play. If the basics are right, these machines will outlive many of us. Number 9. 130-90 and 140-90. The orange Fiats of the 80s are sleeper durability champs. The 130-90 and 140-90 paired tough Fiat Iveco diesels with transmissions that handled Mediterranean heat and heavy tillage without flinching. Olive groves, cereal plains, vineyards, these tractors did it all. Under-stressed turbo diesels with excellent oiling, beefy rear ends with good axle metallurgy, and straightforward electrics. Cooling systems are generous for the output. Aging wiring looms and switches, brake discs that glaze if neglected, and cab trim that survives more by stubbornness than finesse. PTO under load even boost delivery with no black haze at rated RPM and healthy hydraulics. Keep filters and fluids fresh, and they're nearly trouble-free. Number 10. Belarus MTZ-82. If durability is measured by how long a tractor can work after you've run out of money, tools, and patience, the MTZ-82 is in the Hall of Fame. Rugged castings, minimal electronics, and an engine designed to be field repaired made it indispensable from Eastern Europe to Africa. The engine tolerates inconsistent fuel, rough maintenance, and hard use. Driveline components are thick and slow-wearing, and the machine is easy to split with basic equipment. Parts are cheap and widely available. Shifter linkage slop, oil weeps at most gaskets if never resealed, and ergonomics that punish the operator more than the tractor. Compression and hot oil pressure, synchros or sliding gears depending on variant for grinding. Expect leaks, prioritize mechanical health. These tractors weren't just machines, they were partners in the field, trusted by farmers through every season. Built to endure decades of hard labor, they've earned their place in history as some of the most reliable diesel beasts ever made. Which one of these classics do you think was the toughest of them all? Drop your favorite in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss more legendary tractor stories from history. Until next time, keep those engines roaring and the fields rolling.